Hello. This video is about extra clothing and wet weather. So the foundation stage curriculum states that children must have access to an outdoor area, and at Oxford Road Community School, our foundation stage children have access to the outdoor area for most of the session. This includes days when it's cold, when it's wet, when it's windy, when it's snowy, when it's sunny, and the children choose whether they would like to play inside or outside, so they have that choice. So it's necessary for the children to have appropriate clothing so that they can play outside in whatever weather it is and be comfortable, and they can make the most of that time that they have outside. So when it's raining, can you please make sure that your child has a waterproof coat? You can send them in with some named Wellington boots as well. It would be helpful if you named the boots, and then you can bring them in a plastic bag and they can have them as spares. They can come, if they come in with their boots, then please can you send a spare pair of shoes, and it doesn't have to be school shoes, it could be a pair of trainers, just something else that we can change them into, because despite wearing wellies and despite us trying to keep them waterproof, they do get wet feet. They do like to splash in the puddles, so if they have a spare pair of shoes that we can put on them, then it will make it easier for us and also more comfortable for your child when we've changed them. Also, a spare pair of named clothes is necessary. This is regardless of what weather it is outside, whether it's raining, sunny. Children, obviously if it's raining, children tend to get wet, no matter how much we try and protect them with their waterproof coats and their welly boots. They do get wet outside, especially if they're out for a long time. So it's useful for us to have a spare pair of clothes that consists of pants, trousers, t-shirt, jumper, socks, and the shoes, so that we can change your child, or your child can change themselves, and they can be nice and dry then. Again, make sure they're labelled, because when you've got a lot of children trying to change themselves, sometimes the items of clothing do get mixed up a bit when they're trying to get changed. So if they're labelled, then it makes it easier for us to figure out whose is whose jumper or whose is whose t-shirt. In cold weather, make sure your child has a hat, gloves, and a scarf or a snood. Sometimes the snoods, the ones that just go around the neck here and you pull them over your head, sometimes they're easier for them to put on. And obviously a warm coat. Make sure that they're all labelled again. They do tend to have the same hats and the same gloves, and if they're labelled, it just makes our lives a little bit easier trying to get them back to the right people. If it's sunny or really, really hot, then can you please make sure that you apply your sun cream to your child before they come to school or nursery. They may need a sun hat as well. Again, make sure it's named, just to protect their heads if they're outside for a long time. If it's really hot, we don't force them to stay out the whole time, because there isn't, especially in the afternoon, there isn't a lot of shade in the playground, so we will make that choice whether to bring them in or bring them under the shelter, so that they are not out in the sun the whole time. In sunny weather, open-toed sandals aren't really practical. The children run around, they're climbing, and in my experience, the open-toe sandals can be a frequent way of falling over for children who are running around in the playground. So if possible, avoid the open-toe sandals and just go for normal shoes and socks. Again, I did mention about the spare pair of clothing. Now this really does apply to all children, whether your child is toilet trained already, or you think that they're not going to have any accidents. They do have accidents. Even if your child is toilet trained, the first couple of weeks particularly, while the children are getting used to the environment, we do see a lot more accidents in children that are already toilet trained. Also, They will be painting, they will be gluing, they will be washing their hands at the toilets, and they do tend to get very wet doing that sometimes. They do play outside. There is a mud kitchen, so there is a real chance that your child can get dirty quite quickly, and it is just so helpful if we have that spare pair of clothes so that we can change your child if they get really, really, really dirty before it's time to go home. They don't need the spare clothes, I might add, they don't need to be school uniform. If you can't afford to have that spare pair of uniform in a bag as a spare, then just put in some tracksuit bottoms, a t-shirt and some old trainers. You know, it doesn't have to be school uniform. It can just be whatever your child wears on a normal day when they're not at nursery or school. And I think that's about it for extra clothing and wet weather. If you have any questions, then please contact us on the emails on the website for the foundation stage team, and we will get back to you with any answers to queries. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.